Here's some players rostered in under 50% of leagues to consider flexing this week if you're looking for somebody to stream. Obvious downgrade for Isaiah McKenzie if Josh Allen doesn't go, but Minnesota is a plus matchup in points per game given up to the wide receiver position. He's scored 3 touchdowns this year, and he's had 3 games of 5+ targets. I really like Donovan Peoples-Jones. 5 weeks of 11 or 12-ish fantasy points. If he scored a touchdown in any of them, we'd all be talking about him. 70+ receiving yards in 4 out of 5 of his last games. He's got some upside there. 6+ targets for Michael Gallup in 2 out of 3 of his last games. He scored a touchdown in week 4. He's going to get further away from that ACL injury and be the wide receiver 2 for the Cowboys. Speaking of wide receiver 2s, Khalif Raymond is operating as that for the Detroit Lions with Josh Reynolds, DJ Chark, and Jameson Williams out of the mix. DJ Hawkinson got traded. 75+ receiving yards in weeks 7 and 8. Risky here, but Sammy Watkins could be the beneficiary of no Romeo Doubs, Randall Cobb. Christian Watson hasn't run a ton of routes this season. 5 targets last game. Currently listed as questionable, but Nico Collins could have a big role, especially if Brandon Cooks doesn't play. He has yards per reception upside with 2 games above 20 yards per catch, 3 weeks of 5+ targets. Another risky guy, but Paris Campbell went off for fantasy week 6 and 7, scoring 18+ fantasy points in both. The Raiders are a plus matchup for quarterbacks, so maybe Sam Ehlinger steps up this week. We haven't seen a lot of big days out of Zay Jones since week 3, but he's had 4 games ranging 8 to 11 targets from Trevor Lawrence. They had a preseason connection. Kansas City usually produces a game script that's a shootout. No Mecole Hardman can bump Kadarius Toney's role. The Chiefs went out and invested in this guy, so you have to hope that they're going to actually use him. He's a playmaker with the ball in his hands. Keenan Allen and Mike Williams are out of the mix. This obviously is a bump for Josh Palmer and Gerald Everett, but DeAndre Carter has had 2 weeks above 10 fantasy points, 5+ targets in 3 weeks straight. Even deeper is Michael Bandy, who's barely rostered but has had 14 targets across his last 2 games played. With both Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller on the IR, this can create a better, more consistent role for Matt Collins, who's had 3 games of 60+ receiving yards and 8+ targets. The veteran Jarvis Landry returns. Him and Chris Olave can operate as the 1 and 2 for the Saints. I still have hope that Wan'Dale Robinson can actually lead the team in targets for the New York Giants. He's shown some glimpses. He scored a touchdown in his first game. He had 8 targets in week 7. Darius Slayton's on the same team. 3 out of 4 of his last games. He scored 11+ fantasy points, 58 receiving yards in 3 of those. More of the upside play. Maybe a risky play, but Julio Jones is actually healthy right now. I feel like he's a touchdown threat, so if you want to go chase a touchdown, he's had 9 targets across his last 2 games played. Jahan Dotson's a player I really like. The rookie has 4 touchdowns, which leads all rookie wide receivers. He's back in the mix. Maybe more of a stash play.